in the country. Now, if you make a keen observation, since 1990 and 2025, there has been deaths reported during the Sabasaba protest. But what is different right now, it's because everyone is a media personality, in quotes, because we have cameras all over. We are not waiting for the newspaper to give us the toll or to give us the number of deaths or to give us the intensity of destruction within the country. That's why we are saying that this is a little bit, it's a little bit extensive, or it's a little bit intense compared to other protests that we have witnessed in the country. And also, due to the outrage by the public, we have seen this coming out so aggressively, and the push and pull between the police and the public, the running battles in the business districts and in the streets of various cities or various towns in the country. We've seen this intensify the magnitude of Sabasaba protests. But let's not talk about the only the Sabasaba protest this morning. Let's take a look at the number of protests that have been happening in this country this year. So we have had the June 25th protest. We have had the protests demanding justice for Albert Ojwang. We have had protests, the latest, that was yesterday, Sabasaba protest. And if we look at all these protests, we are seeing a trend that is alarming, a trend of looting, a trend of destruction of properties, a trend of significant losses when it comes to businesses. We have had business buildings or apartments being burnt down. Yesterday we saw Maguna Supermarket being burnt down, and we also had the one in Eastern Bypass being looted yesterday at night. And we've had supermarkets like Naivas, these big supermarkets, we've had them looted during protests. And not just supermarkets. During the June 25th protest, we had businesses around Globe Roundabout, that is in Nairobi CBD. We've had them burnt down, and these are small and medium-sized enterprises, and they are counting losses. So the question we are asking on the show, Biashara Tuesday this morning, is what is the relevance of this protest? How is the country benefiting from this protest? As people of this country, how is this helping us? Because if you are having looting going on here and there every now and then, that means that we are, as a country, our economic stability is slowly losing. We've had around 15 companies that are moving away from the country because of unsustainable business environment or unstable business environment. But with the increasing number of protests that involves looting, it creates instability in the country. There is no safe space. The looting, initially we had it on big businesses, but right now we've also had it on small businesses around. If a day goes without people opening their businesses, that means that the amount of GDP that you are collecting on that day is decreasing, and that means that it's taking our country to a state where we may not be able to raise the 4.2 trillion that we estimated to be raising as a country. So we are asking you, our viewer back at home, that is it necessary to have all these demonstrations? Some may say it's necessary, some may say because it is intruded by goons, it is a time to look for other ways of demanding accountability in our country. And we will be giving you figures when it comes to how much we have lost as a country following the protests that we have witnessed for the last 6 months in this country. It might be dissatisfaction, but in one way or another, it is affecting our economy. Just the other day, it was, I think, on Sunday, I was on a cab, and the driver was telling me that, you know, this Sabasaba protest, if you're not going to loot, there's no need of getting out of your house. So in some ways, I think that we have lost it. What began as a good cause of demanding accountability is slowly losing meaning. And if we look at the newspaper today, this morning, what we should be asking, we have the Auditor General who has given a report, and that is the headline on the Standard this morning, not the Standard, the Star this morning. It says, Beach Alu, MCA's county chiefs splash millions in Dubai. That is on page 4 and 5, and it is giving estimates of amounts spent by members of county assemblies, MCAs, in trips out of the country. Just an example, if we take a look, it's giving an example of Lamu County, which spent a total of 60.06 million on trips, on assembly trips to Dubai. An estimate is given officials travel. In September 2024, 14 officials traveled to Dubai using 14.14 million. In January 2025, 12 MCAs spent 12 million in another trip. 9.3 million was spent on training legislative practices. That is just in Lamu. If we look at counties like Machakos, Machakos spent almost $1 billion. That is 488.21 million on domestic and foreign trips. That is to Dubai and to Brazil, to UK, to Rwanda, Qatar, and Albania. That is just in Machakos County. So those are just two counties that I can mention. If we look at Marsabit, they spend around 137.7 million on travels. And we're looking at travels where they say that it is retooling of MCAs, but we are not seeing that. So as a country, if we are indeed going to the street to demand accountability from our leaders who spend our taxes on such trips, spending almost $500 million on foreign trips to Dubai, and we've had situations where a real estate company, I saw this I think last week, was being praised for selling apartments and malls and these shopping malls, and was asked, where did you sell it to? And he said, I sold it to a Kenyan. That means that our money is spent on investment on foreign countries instead of being spent on our own country. That is how many jobs that will be created if a company is built in Kenya or an investment is really put in our country. We are feeling the pain because in as much as we are saying our money is stolen, the worst part is that it's stolen and not spent in our own country, but spent in foreign countries. So that is on the Star, the biggest headline. They're having that one today. Auditor General says that executive defies MP's order on audit queries. This is something that we'll be looking at today. The Star has really distanced itself from talks of post-Sabasaba or the Sabasaba protest. So that is on the Star. Focused on our economy and how members of parliament are spending our hard-earned money that is paid through taxes. On the Daily Nation, the biggest headline given prominence there is big divide. We've had a situation where counties like Nairobi, Kiambu, Kisii, Nakuru, Embu, Kajiado, Nyeri, Narok, Laikipia, Murang'a, Meru, Machakos, Kirinyaga, Uasin Gishu, Kakamega, Makueni, and Nyandarua. We've had them experience protests yesterday during the Sabasaba, but around 30 counties in the country experience calm. And the shocking part is that among those counties is Kisumu County. Kisumu County is known for leading in protests and demonstrations in this country. But right now, as we speak, a calm situation was witnessed in Kisumu. So why the big divide? Is it because of the broad-based government? Or is it because they just sit back and want the rest of the Kenyans to do the part? I've heard most of them saying that we are tired of fighting for these ungrateful countries. Let other people also fight for it. So I don't know what's your take on that, but we'll be having that discussion also this morning. On our newspaper review, the Daily Nation has several segments given prominence over there, including drop in affected counties, business as usual for Kenyans in many parts of the country, but metropolitan and Mount Kenya counties hit hardest by the protest. We have death and destruction. 11 people reported dead and 10 injured as business premises in some towns are looted and burnt yet again. We have police blockades and security agencies seal off Nairobi CBD, block roads across the country, inconveniencing travelers and workers. For this one, it's a 50-50 situation for me, neither here nor there, because if at all, let's have an instance where the police did not block access to the Nairobi Business District. It could be worse than what we witnessed last time, because last time we saw looting happened towards the night, that it was from around 8 p.m. to late in the night. And we'll see today if there is more of reported cases of looting within the Nairobi Business District. But as of yesterday at night, we saw a situation where Nairobi, it was kind of deserted, yes, but no looting or destruction of property, just around or the exits or the outskirts of Nairobi. And also we have a clarion call made by Raila Odinga, and it says ODM chief condemns police brutality, calls for intergenerational dialogue over burning issues to lead to a referendum. Will this be beneficial to our country? That is also something we are asking this morning. An intergenerational dialogue. Who are these people who shall be sitting on the table to discuss this? Who are these people who will be speaking on behalf of the younger generation, the millennials, the Gen Zs? Who are those people who will be speaking on behalf of the government, and will it be fruitful? And if so, should we take that route? So that is on the Daily Nation. On the Standard this morning, still injecting as we are used to. We have brute force, and the image there is of a police officer firing probably towards protesters, and we have an image of a young man who is lying on the ground, probably shot. And the Standard is saying, once again, the government unleashed brute force on Kenyans exercising their democratic right to protest, sealing off the capital and major towns, the reservoir fences around State House in Nairobi and Mombasa, and the House of Parliament expose a leadership so fearful of its own citizens that it will rather confine them to their homes than hear their grievances. The police, now seemingly President Ruto's last line of defense, killed at least 10 Kenyans, adding to the mounting toll of innocent lives lost. This crackdown comes just days after The Economist warned that Ruto is taking Kenya to a dangerous place. That is something we were talking about before I began reading the headlines, because if we are in a country where we are continuously going to protest, destroying properties, that means we are also slowing down economic-wise. Because if we had a shake-up when we got to COVID, and right now, the impact, economists say that the impact felt by protest might be even higher than the impact first when we had the lockdown on the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. So the estimates will be coming out in a few days' time, and we'll be here to inform you on how we have lost as a country, or the way forward as a country. So that story is given prominence on the Standard on page 3 to page 13. That is really deep, because it's all talking about protest, how it has affected the economy, and how this is leading on how we are faring as a country. So that is on the Standard. More stories onto the paper. We'll be looking at that in a short while. But before we get into looking at the newspaper, today we'll also be having a conversation on renewable energy and green hydrogen in Africa, and we'll be joined by Titus Kipkorir-Ngeno, who is an author and renewable energy specialist. So over the past years, everyone has been talking about green energy and how we can harness it in our production. We've had conversations on carbon credits and how we can use this to our advantage as a country, and how we can benefit. We've also had cases of corruption related to carbon credits. So that is something else that we'll be asking our guest this morning. How sustainable is the use of green energy, and how well can we embrace financing of green energy? And what exactly is green energy? Because when we talk about green energy, most people think about electric cars, using cookers or gas cookers instead of using firewood. So we'll be looking at what is deeply into it. We have use of biogas, we have use of other alternatives of transport other than burning fossil fuel. And what are the contributing factors that may increase fossil fuel, or some may call it fluorocarbons, into the atmosphere. So we'll be looking at that discussion, and we'll be asking Kip Korir this morning, how best can we harness renewable energy and green hydrogen in Africa, and how sustainable is the financing towards the same. So that is a discussion that we'll be having on the launch this morning. At this point, I want us also this morning, let me not forget this, we'll be having a look at its feature that we'll be looking at what happens behind the mic, what happens behind what you see on your screen, the preparation of Biashara Tuesday, the preparation of Art and Culture Monday, what happens behind the scenes of this production. So you'll get a look, you'll get a chance to look at what happens behind the scenes. So that is on the BTS of Rise today. And at this point, I want us to take a look at what is happening on our roads and the traffic situation in Nairobi. Sabasaba, and yesterday at night we saw the police. Kenyans were saying that the police walikuwa wanaandamana. So as that was happening, no one was left to clear the roads. We had road blockage in various roads across the country. Wayaki Way, Thika Road, Gong Road, Kiserian. We had all these roads barricaded by stones, by police, and no one was there working at night. So what we expect this morning is heavy traffic across various roads in Nairobi, or tributaries leading to Nairobi Central Business District. So that is what we expect. So looking at the map this morning, let's see what it has for us. For Thika Road, it was quite hectic. For those, no one could travel using either the superhighway or the service lane. And that is because of the blockage. And right now, if I look at Google, from a bypass, that is on Thika Road, from bypass, past bypass, all the way to this is Thika Road Mall, past Thika Road Mall, all the way, from bypass all the way to TRM. There is very, very heavy traffic. It's moving very slow. Those people who are joining Thika Road from Kamiti Road, from Outer Ring Road, from Kasarani, all those people, your way looks not good today because it is a long stretch of red and little bits of yellow as you approach the TRM roundabout. And also going to town further, I'm seeing a long stretch of green, and this is from Allsops, is where we are having a little stretch of yellow all the way to town. But if you're past KCA University, we have stretches of red. So Thika Road, just to mention, from bypass to TRM, or to TRM, that is Roysambo, heavy traffic. From KCA, that is from Allsops, all the way to town, very heavy traffic as well. Those people using Kiambu Road, there is also very heavy traffic on the same, because for the first time we saw demos happening on that is Kiambu Road, from Tindigwa all the way to Kiambu, and those people living there, they're saying they have never witnessed that. We normally see this happening in Eastlands, but this time we saw it happening in those areas. And your route also, if you're coming from Kiambu Road heading to town, heavily packed. So those are the people using, who are heading to town from Thika Road. And if we look at the Globe roundabout, or Globe flyover, however you want to call it, is also heavily packed right there. So if you're entering town through Thika Road, you can find another alternative. I don't know what alternative that will be, because if I look at town along Expressway, it is heavily packed. All the tributaries joining Expressway and Mombasa Road, it is heavily packed, except those using the Expressway, of course. But all those using Mombasa Road, that is the service lane, all the tributaries entering Mombasa Road are heavily packed. So it is a day when sisi wote lazima we have to, acclimatize with the environment or with what is happening, because if we can't, there is nothing we can do further because of a lot of debris on the road. And those hapa leo hakukuwa na kuhepa. Even if you began early enough, let's say around 4 a.m., that it was your duty to get the stones out of the road. If you're coming late, that means you'll also have to bear with the traffic. So it's a day that we are just expecting it to be moving slow. I don't know who is expected to be cleaning these roads. Is it the county government? Is it the police? Or who is this expected to clean the roads? So let's know. We'll get to find out later on in the day. But that is on the traffic situation this morning. So if we look at the weather, in Nairobi right now, it is quite chilly. Let me take a look. So around my area right now, it is 15 degrees Celsius, and it feels like 15 degrees Celsius. We have 20% chances of rainfall. That is from 9 to 12 a.m. For the rest of the day, no chances of rainfall. But from around 9 p.m., we'll be having 40% chances of rainfall. That is in Nairobi. If we look at areas like kuna watu walikuwa wameenda Summertides. Those people who are blocked from coming to Nairobi, and apparently the police say, not the police, this is the public saying that if your IDs were checked, if you are below 25 years, you are not allowed to board your vehicle. I don't know how true that is, but apparently you are blocked from coming to Nairobi because probably you'll be causing, you'll be part of the maandamano. I don't know their situation right now, where they are, because most of the young people were blocked from coming to Nairobi. Their SGR were cancelled. Others missed their flights to Nairobi. I don't know how their situation is right now, but for them, it is 24 degrees Celsius, feels like 26 degrees Celsius. Quite a good weather for partying. We hope that today is well for them and they are not stuck and so much happening to them. So I wouldn't fail to mention Kisumu. So right now in Kisumu, it is 21 degrees Celsius, feels like 24 degrees Celsius. No sign of precipitation throughout the day because they will be receiving highs of 27 degrees Celsius. That is from 1 p.m. to around 4 p.m. No sign of rainfall in Kisumu. So that is a few of the places that we are mentioning this morning. And most of the places, humidity is quite moderate, no sign of precipitation, apart from Nairobi, where we're expecting rainfall from 9 p.m. today evening all the way to 12, is it 12 a.m. or 12 midnight? That is on the same. So right now, we are taking a very short break, and then we'll be back with all the information that I've been giving you, a discussion on green energy and renewable energy, financing of smart climate. We'll also be taking a look at what happens behind the scenes, and later on, the newspaper review.
My name is Jakub Petri. I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland. And I'm the main coordinator of the CAFE project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Eva Hutoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching Cutting Edge Research at Kenyatta University Television.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matters.
Naam, ungana nami Malkia wa Taarab katika mitindo ya kipwani hapa KUTV. Yaani tunapozungumzia mitindo ya kipwani basi unaona napigwa na mawimbi makali sana ya baharini kutoka katika ufuo wa hoteli moja inayofahamika kama North Coast Beach Hotel, ambao ndio wadhamini wa kipindi hiki cha mitindo ya kipwani. Penye mtazamaji, kwenye mitindo ya kipwani hutakosa kupata mapishi ya vyakula vya kipwani. Yaani hapa tunazungumzia vyakula vilivyokolezwa na kukorombezwa. Iliki, karafuu, abdalasini, samaki wa baharini, vyakula vilivyopikwa na kusukwa kwa kutumia nazi. Bila kusahau mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja, mazungumzo ya kusisimua na wataalam tofauti, waandishi wa vitabu waliobobea, watunzi wa kuhani mashairi. Bila kusahau mpenzi mtazamaji, taratibu zetu za taarabu na chakacha. Yaani pale ni pale ambapo viuno vya wanawake vinazungushwa kisawasawa kama panga boy za trekta ndani ya KUTV mitindo ya kipwani. Ukiwa nami na hodha wako Waridi Tamu. Usiyakose matamu jamani.
Are you ready to take charge of your health? Welcome to Focus on Health, your weekly guide to staying informed and living better. Join me every week as I sit down with trusted medical experts.
Gynecology is basically a field concerned with mainly the female genitalia.
Explore real-life stories
during when the patient come in,
and bring you updates and tips that are beneficial to your health. Because health isn't just important, it is everything. Tune in to Focus on Health every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. only on KUTV. I'm your host, Kandia Marian, and I'll see you then.
are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audiovisual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Tuesdays, we don't just rise for art and culture or Biashara Tuesday. We rise expecting energy, newspaper review, lines za kikwetu, and of course, these two hosts that walk in like stars and light up the set like pros. When the cameras go off, the passion doesn't.
This particular show, KUTV Rise Today Biashara Tuesday, hosted by SYLVIA ANYANGO.
Ojwang is a leader of Shofco Resambo mentoring, organizing, and inspiring real impacts. Sylvia is a journalist here at KUTV, a teacher shaping minds, and our very own award-winning media personality by passion. What you see on screen is smooth transitions, perfect smiles, and everything on cue. But behind the scenes, it's a different kind of show. There's laughter, doing makeup on the last minute, being mic'd mid-powder, forgotten lines,
talks and affirming that he will only deliver.
And that one person who always needs just one more minute before the show ends. Mic test turns more like a mini karaoke session and another person pretending they weren't just dancing a minute ago. They don't just read the news or entertain the audience. They create moments, spark laughter, and carry the room like the true pros they are. We joke, we tease, but the truth is, this show wouldn't be the same without them. Every week they show up, full of heart and full of energy.
Faster. Let me begin with you, Ojwang. What do you make of this current political situation in the country?
The politics is boiling and it's boiling nicely. Napenda vile iko kuchemka tu mdogo mdogo.
We see, we appreciate, and we absolutely love the behind the scenes too.
Maneno zinakimbia walai yani. Walai. Ngoja jamani. Walai. Ian to roll.
Good evening. Good morning. So welcome to Biashara Tuesday.
Good morning. It is the 23rd of June. Welcome to Biashara Tuesday, where we keep you engaged and discuss business matters and business strategies to make you a better business person.
Ojwang ni yapa. Ojwang is a yapa, bro.
Yeah, definitely Ojwang.
Ojwang.
Bold, entertaining, and informative.
Exquisite, fun, and entertaining.
Insightful, empowering, entrepreneurial.
Art and Culture Monday. I like it because it's in a ooze wisdom kwa hiyo ya lens za kikwetu. And then Biashara Tuesday, it is informative because inaleta watu wako experts kwa fields. And then newspaper review kwa both, right? Inakuanga interesting ku critique hizo topics, the headlines, yes.
Ojwang, definitely Ojwang, like, no doubt.
Ojwang, definitely.
Ojwang, definitely.
Ojwang.
Newspaper review, because he speaks his mind. Hence nimesema, the show is bold.
Newspaper review. I mean, it's actually very active and it's unfiltered, unhinged. So, vitu zinakuja tu raw msee.
Newspaper review. Because the show is engaging, insightful, and there is no filtering of words. You just say what is in his mind Yeah.
Newspaper review.
Behind the scenes, beyond this person who is looking at you on the screen, so calm and so relaxed, there is a cheeky someone inside there. So that is what happens behind the scenes. What we do, getting ourselves ready for the show, you have to psych yourself up. If you're not your own motivation, then who is? So that is what happens behind the scenes, whether it's on news, whether it's on Biashara Tuesday. So right about now, we're about to have a discussion on green financing, that is renewable energy and green hydrogen in Africa. How well do we finance this? All conversations around carbon credit and everything in between. And our guest is right here in studio with us, Titus Kipkorir, and we'll be having that discussion in a bit. All right, we are here on the lounge. And before I introduce my guest, everyone introduce themselves best. Titus, how are you this morning? Good. So good to have you here this morning. It's quite a heavy traffic. We are so glad that you made it to KU Studios this morning. How was your journey traversing all those towns to KU? So how would you describe yourself, Titus, based on what you do, who you are? How would you describe yourself? So before we get into you telling us what inspired you to write these books, when someone thinks about renewable energy, what comes to their mind is electric cars, using gas instead of using firewood or charcoal. So what is there more to renewable energy that as a public we don't know? All right, now back to the books. What inspired you to write these two books, and can you tell us more about the content and the books? All right, so in the book, let's take an example, climate change and finance in Africa. How sustainable is this, especially now that we've had so many groups who are largely using energy, lacking information? Because, for example, in a rural setup, most of them may not be able to afford, you know, using we give an example of, what is this? The one that they use, biogas, yes, biogas. Using biogas or using just general gas. Some of them may not be able to afford it. So how well can we integrate them into it? And when such happens, is it sustainable?
Yes, what I can say is that harnessing like the biogas for small-scale farmers is sustainable, because in the market today you can get these biogas plants very cheap. With 50,000 Kenyan shillings, you can have a small biogas plant in your home, and that is quite sustainable so long as you meet the basic requirements. That is, you must have for the past installation that we have done, so long as you have a minimum of 2 cows in your homestead, you can easily get these biogas plants. And it is sustainable, since now you can use these biogas plants for cooking and even heating. We have had previous small-scale farmers using these biogas plants to even heat boilers, and these boilers are used to clean the milking equipment. So it's totally a clean energy transition for small-scale households.
And how well is relevant authorities like the Ministry of Energy or the government at large supporting such initiatives when it comes to financing?
What I can say is that the Ministry of Energy is supporting these programs, and I was part of the team who did the county energy plans for the 47 counties which are being integrated in the National Energy Framework. And these county energy plans is from 2023 to 2030. And every county is supposed to have a clean energy program for every citizens in the county. And this comes up along with having a strategy whereby they roll out the biogas for farmers in every county. And apart from that, because we are also having the electric, the EV vehicles, so in the county energy planning, so every county will have to roll out clean cooking access for every household in the county, and even EV vehicles, and try to reduce the carbon emission. Yes.
All right. Now, take us through the steps of how one can benefit from the financing, climate financing, whether it's from banks, whether it's from organization. How can someone be part of this financing?
So what I can say is that you need to be first to be in this space, and you have I encourage the youth to come up with startups in climate finance, in climate space, so that you get an opportunity to access this green financing. Because without a startup, without a project, you can't access this green financing. So, for example, we have financing for green hydrogen. We have financing for renewable energy projects, and the reason is because every country in Africa strives to have a zero emission, and by having zero emission, every country has to roll out these programs and also have this climate finance. So without these startups, there is no opportunity to access this climate finance. Yes.
Is it possible to have zero emissions?
Yes, it's possible. Let's take a scenario. now a competition of having hydrogen fuel cars and have also the electric EV vehicles. And these, when, for example, an EV vehicle, when you are traveling from Nairobi to Kisumu, you will need 5,000 Kenyan shillings for the fuel. But no, not EV, but the normal.
That uses fossil.
Yes, the fossil fuel vehicles. But when you are using the EV, you can charge it at around. You can use 800 shillings. Charge that 100 kilowatt EV vehicle, and you can travel from Nairobi to Kisumu. So you find that you reduce the cost of the fuel. That is first thing, and the second thing is that you offset the carbon emission. And the reason why we are transitioning to having green hydrogen is because that we find that factories like for cement, factories for steel, they use a lot of energy and they have high carbon emission. So when we have when we replace these factories with green hydrogen cells, even though there is a high production cost, this will offset around 7% of carbon emission every year.
All right. Now, if we look at the transport sector where we are using vehicles, what is the highest contributor of carbon emissions apart from the use of matatus? Because if we look at it really, it is very hard to like get rid of them on our roads because, you know, there is a lot of, you've used matatus and you enter kind unangalia dashboard and you're like, what is happening here? And then the emission is very high because also we've had situations where the study of areas around major highways having a lot of emissions or a lot of the gases that are harmful. So what are the major contributors to these emissions and how well can we, you know, harness this or save this situation?
So what I can say is that there are many scenarios whereby there are many emitters. Like for example, basically oil and gas industry are the highest emitters in this space, and even that is why the Ministry of Energy is tried to eliminate the use of the diesel gensets. Like they decommissioned a plant in Mombasa, Arabai, the 70 megawatt diesel genset, and we are trying to replace this the diesel genset with renewable energy technologies because they are high emitters. And you find that many project developers are coming up with projects in renewable energy, even though there is an issue with Ministry of Energy whereby they have not lifted up the moratorium for energy auctions because you find that now many developers are coming up with projects in solar space, and they need a given tariff. So this specific tariff, and you find also that most of the developers need a special tariff, especially in project development space. So that is what happened, and you find that there are no PPAs which are being issued by the Ministry of Energy at the moment.
All right, so that is a challenge.
Yes.
Apart from the industries and the transport sector, is there any other sector that you think is not monitored and they are high contributors of carbon emissions?
For now, I think that because of the legal and institutional framework whereby the Ministry of Environment is trying to have a national carbon registry, which is under the draft 2023 of the National Climate Change Draft. So these legal and institutional framework and maybe the KFS, Kenya Forest
now that we are on the conversation on carbon credits, there's this controversial theory that the world is not having diverse climate changes, and the idea of we are saving the planet, or the climate, there is climate crisis, is not something that is really, it's an idea of developing funds in terms of carbon credits. It's just an investment kind of thing. What's your idea about that?
Maybe I can say that idea is 50-50% because
Neither here nor there.
because we are seeing the climate change impacts. One is the issue of floods, the issue of drought, the issue of famine. Those are some of the impacts of climate change. And now, and there's a reason why we have this climate change finance. Is because these climate change finance are very important to tackle these issues of drought, famine, even water access. Because now, if we don't have, and you find that you see the reason why it's a regional issue is because it affects everyone. And the reason why we have this climate financing is because you may not know which country will affect next. Maybe it's Kenya next year where we have drought even for 5 years. And you see, when you have drought, you spend a lot of money distributing food. There are deaths of livestock. There is a lot of impacts. So, me, what I can say is that this issue of climate change, we should take it seriously.
All right. One may say that, yes, we want to take the issue of climate change seriously. And if we look at Africa, the number of factories we have are not so much compared to industrialized countries like United States, United Kingdom. Like, our carbon emissions are little. That means we are contributing positively towards the environment. And if we look at the numbers where the number of trees that is being driven or planted yearly, it's increasing every year. We've had situations where there are tree donations, there are campaigns of managing the environment. Like, every now and then, you'll hear children in school planting trees and all that. We have our forests diverse, so much of them. But one will ask, why is it that when it comes to terms and conditions of carbon credits, how it should be paid, the quantity that it should be paid, why is it determined by the Western people instead of us? It's like you're being told that you need to keep your house clean, but then the cost of you keeping your house clean, it's me who is going to determine that cost. So what do you think about this situation where we are the ones managing, or we are the ones told to produce less carbon emissions while they produce more carbon emissions, but then they're the ones to determine the terms and conditions of how these carbon credits are going to be working?
Yes, that is a very critical issue because now you find that the Western countries are the highest emitters and the African countries are the lower emitters. So we must fight for that carbon credits. Why? Because you find that now the countries who are high emitters, they need to contribute more to African countries who are low emitters. Yes. So we must get our value of money. Yes.
Do you think there is imbalance there?
Yeah, there is imbalance because now the high emitters should pay us more, should pay our African countries more because now we are low emitters. Yes.
When Trump was getting into office, he promised that the oil wells will be once again opened, and the narrative of using electric cars, it's not something that it's going to be normal, or it's not something that they're going to be embracing. Like, there's going to be a change from using electric, and they're going to be embracing the use of fossil fuel for their transport. In some ways, this is something that fuels the economy. If we look at countries like Libya, where they are oil producers, they are well developed, and the Middle East, where they're having, fossil fuel, they're using more of that. it's like they're controlling the economy. And now as Africans, we are moving away from that. We've had a case where we are having oil wells in Turkana, and we are moving away from that. So is it something that is, do you think this is something that is going to be keeping us on our feet in terms of economic empowerment and the narrative of green energy? It's not so much friendly to economic growth.
Yeah, for the oil wells in Turkana, I think it's quite important because despite the issue of emissions and the impacts of having oil fields, we still need those oil wells because right now we import a lot of oil, and I think at some point last year the Minister for Energy signed a G2G agreement, and you see the oil, the cost of fuel is rising in the country, and this is we need a sort of reduce the taxes and maybe export more. We need to fully utilize the oil wells in Turkana to make sure that we also become exporter of green. But what I know is that Kenya, we are still far from exporting oil, despite having oil wells in Turkana. Yes.
So is it not like a situation where we are preaching water but we are taking wine? Because in as much as there is need to embrace green energy, renewable energy, it is more profitable embracing fossil fuel.
That one now, embracing fossil fuels depends on our capacity to harness what we have, and you find that maybe even with the LAPSED project, we had LAPSED project that will be directly from Turkana oil fields to the Lamu ports, and that Lamu port now will be a hub for exporting this crude oil. You find that we have no capacity to refine crude oil in Mombasa. So we, even if we have the Turkana oil, we have to export it as crude oil.
For it to come back,
Yeah, to come back.
refined.
So we still have some challenges, and there was the issue of we had an oil refinery in Mombasa, but there's been issue with the capitation, and it has been on stall for the last, I think, 20 years. So we still have quite a challenge in the oil industry sector.
All right. So how do you see the green energy, the hydrogen, use of hydrogen fuel, or in the next 10 years, the future of it?
So what I can say is that it is quite important to have these green hydrogen projects. In Kenya, having one green hydrogen project in Biashara, that is 1.7 megawatts. It's an hybrid system because it's a solar farm integrated with the green hydrogen project, and with the development of green hydrogen fuels
right. And what role should the local community, the youths be playing in this transition?
So I think the local communities or the youths should be also in this space, try to get the market share in coming up with the startup technologies, how to integrate these EV vehicles. They come in assembly of the electric vehicles. The workforce for the green hydrogen industry. So maybe encourage youths to have more skills in the green hydrogen sector, because in the 10 years ahead we'll be having more projects on the green hydrogen.
All right. From your years of experience in this field, what was the most exciting project that you had that inspired you to, like, and you decided that, what, this is the field I'm going to be part of for the longest?
So I've done quite a number of installations, ranging from biogas, and I think for biogas I've done around 20 biogas plants, 20 more biogas plants for small scale households, despite having some challenges in terms of efficiency, but they have embraced it. Also, same case to the C&I sector, that is the commercial and industrial solar sector. I've managed to install two 25 kilowatt systems for industrial scale, and I'm also part of the development in green hydrogen projects, water desalination, because we have one water desalination project in Kwale, and this project will be incorporated with the green hydrogen, because basically we need the issue with green hydrogen is that we require a lot of energy, and we require also water. It's basically electrolysis, whereby we have different types of hydrogen. That is a brown hydrogen, we have gray hydrogen, and we have yellow hydrogen.
All right. And in the industry, to ensure there is a smooth transition, what do you think should be done differently?
So I think the policy framework plays a key role, and we have the Kenya Green Hydrogen Strategy from 2023 to 2030, and I think that having this policy framework whereby you encourage investors, developers, and even the legal framework coming out to integrate well, and giving a good environment to develop these projects. These will at least improve our economy, and have more youths also joining the space in terms of the workforce.
All right. So do you have any advice, trade secrets, any, something that you can give to encourage someone who is a potential investor in the green economy?
So with the incentives in place with the policy framework, the Kenya Green Hydrogen Strategy, the Kenya Climate Change Act of the draft of 2023, and the carbon credits market, the financing, the integration, all integration of this, I'd like to encourage also investors and the workforce to come together, and even the policy framework, the Ministry of Energy, because they are the key players also in this space, because without a clear guidelines and a policy framework, we cannot develop these projects. The reason why I'm saying is that you see a country like Namibia, they are now leading in Africa in developing the largest green hydrogen plant. And the reason is because the government is supporting with the France government. They have developed a $10 billion US dollars green hydrogen project in Namibia. And this is through the support of the government. So what I would like to say is that the government plays a key role in policy framework, and encouraging investors to come and develop these hydrogen projects, because they are key to our Vision 2030 in ensuring that we have zero emissions, and we transition 100% to renewable energy.
All right. So you have two books. You've written 2 books, Climate Change and Finance in Africa, and also Renewable and Green Hydrogen in Africa. Why should we have these books?
Yeah, because first is to impact knowledge. We find that many people just hear of renewable energy, green hydrogen, but they don't know what is this. So
All right.
it's very important to know what is this green hydrogen, what is these renewable energies, and what are the opportunities as an investor, as a even a student. How do I get into this space? So I've provided incentives on how all the financing on climate change, the financing on the renewable energy, and how can we integrate, because we can integrate this also as an hybrid system, whereby we can combine a solar system, we can combine a diesel genset together to harness power. Like for example, in Marsabit, there's a time we visited Wajir County, and when we reached there, we were doing a site visit for a 5 megawatt solar plant. We found that they have a lot of issue when it comes to electricity, and in fact, they thought now we were going there to solve the electricity challenges they have. They really need, they have problems when it comes to electricity supply. And I think that is the reason the government set up one project in Garissa, that is the 40 megawatt solar project. And there was also existing solar hybrid system where you have a combination of solar system and a diesel genset. So there's a gap, and also when in Kenya we still have a deficit. In fact, South Africa is ahead of us when it comes to power generation. It's double. But even though much of their power harnessing it comes from coal, which is worse on this issue of zero emission, but they still generate a lot of power. So in Kenya we have an opportunity to generate even more than 10,000 megawatts of geothermal. So we still have a long way to go, and we encourage investors to come and come in this space and develop more projects in renewable energy.
All right. How can we get the books?
So the books are available.
Where?
Nuria store.
Nuria store.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, so you can make an order, or you can visit Nuria store. You'll get a copy.
All right. Nuria store. Any last word for our viewers back at home?
So what I can say is that let's join hands together in making sure that our country becomes sustainable, reduce zero emissions, and ensuring that we all strive to having a clean energy environment, which is sustainable and environmentally friendly.
All right. Sustainable and environmentally friendly.
And as I finish, also there are 4 pillars when it comes to electrification. That is the digitalization, decentralization, decarbonization, and so there are 3 Ds. So we are trying to decentralize these renewable energies, and also with an aim of decarbonizing. We need to decarbonize. We move away from large emitting projects to more sustainable projects. And finally, I've said decarbonization, decentralization, and I think that those two.
Decarbonization, decentralization. All right. Thank you so much for your time today. It was very exciting. I hope the youths are going to be venturing into green economy, something that is given prominence even by, you given priority by banks, by the government in terms of funding. Those youth funds that you're seeing, if you're having a green energy project or something that ventures into sustainable development in terms of producing renewable energy, trust you me, you'll be given priority. So try and get one and be part of transforming our environment, or be part of transforming climate or harnessing or managing climate change in Africa and in the world. So that has been on the launch discussion with the Titus Kip Korir-Ngeno, who is an author and renewable energy specialist. And the conversation was around renewable energy and green hydrogen in Africa. Thank you so much, Titus, for making time for us this morning. Coming up next is the discussion on the newspaper review. It is post-Sabasaba, so much to discuss on how this has affected our economy, how this has affected our social, political status as a country. So we'll be having that discussion shortly after the break.
Miti miti, panda panda. Our planet's future is in our hands. However, there is a threat to the brightness of this tomorrow. On EarthCheck, we share the challenges, the solutions, and the hope.
I would call this a very momentous day, a very critical day.
Every episode, every story, every step we take creates a ripple. Join me, the environmentalist Emmanuel Kutosi, on KUTV every Wednesday at 8 p.m. and be part of EarthCheck. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Stella Tioi.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mwokoa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
they find it quite strange talking to you.
We should just make schools integrated,
inclusive setups,
by providing the right facilities.
Ni nguzo na uso wa jamii. Kupanda shuka, akawa tuzo. Ukakamavu wake, ukatii na kumfanya mwenye bidii. Kwa machozi na makeke, akabaini jinsi ya kuweni. Huyu ni mwanamke ngangari, kwa jinsi alivyo ng'ari. Mimi ni mwanamke mwake. Usikose kutazama kipindi cha mwanamke mwake, nami Caroline Kimwele.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing
accessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Get ready to embark on a journey into the exciting world of technology as we uncover the latest trends, interview top thought leaders, and dive deep into the world of tech like never before.
Currently, we are facing the challenge in terms of finance. It requires one to move from different counties because we really need a large data set for our model to be more accurate.
In this new and exciting series of the Technovation Show, join me, Yvonne Kimuma, every Monday 8:30 p.m. for a fun and thrilling experience as we explore the cutting-edge developments, meet visionaries driving change.
Somebody who is in the underground mine doesn't know the presence of those gases. So there are a lot of gases involved. There is methane, there's carbon monoxide, and there's also hydrogen sulfide. These gases actually, they are very dangerous and they're very toxic.
And discover the endless possibilities of the tech world.
Right now, I'm joined by very own Ojwang Mariam. Ojwang, thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
I'm grateful and humbled to be here this morning to give influential, insightful, impactful, wamesema vitu mingi mzee.
All right.
And I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the chance.
Okay, Kuja, did you encounter debris kwa barabara?
There's a lot that is happening, especially from the constituency I come from, Risambu constituency. We were hit by something we have never seen in this constituency. Any constituency inakuwaga iko undermined sana ama underserved sana. But every time tumetokea huko seeking for justice, juu ya barabara, juu ya maji, bad leadership and all those things, we have never destroyed property. Tutawasha moto kwa taya, si ni watu at least tumesoma kidogo. We are not uncouth to say that. But jana supermarket zimechomwa, Family Bank hadi ATM Car West haziko. All this chaos happened, and it's so sad for me to say this on live TV that leo asubuhi viongozi kutoka Risambu wameamka wakilia as everyone analia. But what is concerning so much is terms, dictions and choice of words zenye zinatumiwa na hawa viongozi. Utapata like kiongozi wa Liquor Licensing Board in Risambu ni mtu ambaye ako concerned sana na entertainment, all entertainment joints zinajulikana. Najua natoka Soweto, ni mtu ako na power. You see, mimi saizi nikikuona wewe kama goon, I will not first approach you. Uko na wanasema waliwaona goons usiku at 2 am wakiwa yeye na kiongozi mwingine to Hannington Masioka at 2 am wameona goons in Soweto wakilipwa, and then our goons wakaenda na majembe. So for a leader, tusiongelele mtu yote, for a leader, mimi nikiona kitu kama hicho, I would want to approach and ask what's happening. They did the same. But you hawa ni goons, as I approach for my own security, lazima kwanza at least nipige picha ama nichukue ka video ile ya kujaza ile curiosity ya hawa ni nani before I approach them. Wao tunawauliza mko na picha? Hawana picha. Mko na video? Hawana video. Wanasema walikuwa 15 men na walikuwa wameogopa sana. But bado wanaongeza, they were not able to take photos and videos, but walikuwa na guts za kuengage hawa wasee hadi to a point wanaona sio wa Soweto ama Kahawa West. And the question still lies. Naweza kuwa mimi ni mjinga fala sana, but kuna vitu mingi sana hatuambiwi. One, hawa wawili tumesema ni viongozi. Two, mmoja ni wote wawili ni wafanyakazi kwa kaunti ya Sakaja, wote wawili. Three, wote wawili hakuna mtu akona uhusiano na ule mwingine. Wanasema walikuwa patrol. If you are on a patrol at 2 a.m. before we approach our goods wenye wanalipo, you would want to know who are they or show us some photos. We are living in a digital age. Amongst the big divide that is being given on the Daily Nation, we know the truth. Wakenya waliamka asubuhi sana kuandamana for Sabasaba, but kila estate ulikuwa unaamka unapata polisi hapo nje. It's not only in the newspaper. I witnessed it. Nilikuwa tayari kutokea CBD as always vile tumezoea kuandamana. Tulikuwa tayari kupambana hizo barricade zote za Thika Road hadi tuingie CBD. But unaamka unapata polisi wamejaa kwa estate, watu wanapitia kwa railway as wanatafuta alternative routes za kuingia town. Such things would make a smart person like you and I to remain in a peaceful environment. Let's say home. So nilibaki home. But bado kuna watu walibomoa hizo vitu zote zenye zilibomolewa, loot and all that destruction. In a country where we've seen hired goons and what they do. We only supposed to open our eyes. Tujiulize, who sponsored these goons? And if we can't know who sponsored them, kuna picha because we are in a digital era. Zinaonyeshana hadi wa mama wenyewe wakiingia kwa supermarket wanatoka na mafuta. If you get on Facebook, you'll see them from Kahawa West. Na inasemekana huyu anauzaga smoky kwa roundabout. Anafanya nini na mafuta ya 3 liter na amezoea ile 1 liter ya kupimiwa na jua la. That means yeye ni mwizi. Hawa watu wote washikwe, investigations ziendelee, ndio tujue nani waliwalipa. We cannot let our country go down the swamp that way. Because wanasema hapa hivi including Jimmy Wanjigi that our country vitu zenye tumeona ni vitu tulisoma kwa vitabu vya
tamthilia na riwaya.
Hatujawahi ona vitu kama hivi tena. Hiyo inaonyesha ya kwamba rais wetu amekosa legitimacy kabisa. Gazeti leo linasema tumepoteza 10.4 billion in Nairobi. Sio kwa sababu ililutiwa, ni kwa sababu hakuna mtu alikubaliwa kuingia Nairobi na imekuwa as an empty street. That was the peaceful protest that Sabasaba marked. The rest was sponsored chaos by people we don't know who.
All right, so if we look at the newspapers, you began on a very high note because imekuingia.
Imeniingia macho. Unaamka wewe ni kiongozi, unatuambia ati ati hukupiga picha lakini uliona goons wakilipwa. Na sisi tunasema wewe unalipa goons.
Who should we be blaming in this situation? Should we be blaming the police or should we be blaming our leaders?
I will blame us. When I say us, I will say everyone who is 35 years and below. We are the most struck by the unfortunate events of this country. Because if we were living in a fair nation, fair nation haimaanishi hata tuajiriwe, but I should be empowered enough to employ watu wengi. Wewe you should be empowered enough to do the same. Everyone who has gone to campus and graduated has been taught or trained how to manage. Everyone who has gone to TVET and lower institutions to do TVET and certificates has been taught to do. If the system was right and doing as it was supposed to do, sisi wa Kenya tunatosha tujilishe kila mtu. If tunaumia na sisi vijana bado, the solutions, wale ambao wamesoma wanawaambia the solution ni hii katiba. Na hii katiba inakupatia amri under article 37 ya kutokea kwa barabara na kupetition. Hiyo katiba haisemi wewe ndio kalut. So every youth who is being paid 500 to go and loot someone else's property is failing us. We are failing ourselves as the youth. We've been told for a very long time that Siri ni ballot, Siri ni ballot, Siri ni a voter's card. That is not the Siri, because if we get out there and we vote in the same manner that we've been voting, then we'll just have a status quo. Economy mbaya, uchumi mbaya, and we say tungoje 5 years. The constitution is not that fixed. Iko flexible design yenye. If wewe hatukutaki and you are a president, you are not supposed to ask us when you say Ruto must go, what do you mean? You are supposed to read the constitution and know what legitimacy is. If you are not ready to work with those people because we've entrusted you as a representative and the highest office on this land, the presidency. So if you are not able to work with us as your partners, the most honorable thing is to resign. Rais Ruto hafai kutuuliza ataenda aje nyumbani, anafaa a resign, and then akisha resign aweke pay bill, tutamchangie pesa za hiyo miaka miwili imebaki, so that we can have peace na nchi iendelee. I think I'm tired as a youth of crying all the time, going to the streets all the time, and yet we're not doing anything. We are the media. Other medias are doing it. We do more by telling people kwa ground unafanya vibaya. Usione mtu hata amewekwa kwa gazeti leo analipa guns, kesho unataka tulie mtu wetu. Mwambie usifanye hivyo. Unamkosea mwenzako. Ukimkosea mwenzako umejikosea wewe mwenyewe. Otherwise hakuna mtu anafaa kuwa na stress hii nchi. Do you know why? Because stress wewe ndio utafanya nipate, ama huyu ndiye atafanya nipate. Thinking about the other person sana. Now imagine you are thinking about a person, hadi unatokea kwa barabara unauliwa. Person mwenye yeye anafikiria venye atadutu kwa mwenzake, venye ataibia mwenzake. It's not good.
Alright.
You must take deliberate chance and opportunity to change and use it well.
In the past, we have witnessed a situation where in Kenya we have experienced voter apathy for the longest time, where someone anasema, there's no need of me voting because even if I vote, my vote is going to be stolen or something like that. Recently, we've had a situation where around 600,000 Kenyans were patriated. They were given, identification cards. This may make someone think that, okay, nothing is going to be happening even if I vote. We've also had a situation where our IEBC right now is not reviewed. And that means that if we continue this way, the courts might just be looking at us to end we go to 2027 elections. After voting to Ambiwe, this election is null and void. It was not reviewed. The boundaries were not reviewed. So there is a lot of voter apathy kind of feeling that we are having as Kenyans. Alafu right now, we are having a situation where the public has lost trust in government agencies, and that is specifically the police department and the DCI department. So we have a situation where we are unsure if we vote, is our vote safe? And if we vote, if our votes are not safe, can we go to public institutions and get justice? So what do you think this is leading our country to right now?
You see, Sylvia, they once said that when a hyena wants to eat her children or his children, lazima kwanza aseme wananuka kondoo. To people who don't eat kondoo and maybe they prefer pork, lazima huyu fisi afanye wao watoto wake wanuke hivyo. Or others, when they want to kill you, they first say you are mad. When you are mad, you have no opinion. There is no way, for example, in our country, all these youth who are called the majority, 70%, are mad when they are saying, this man must go. This man, whom we are saying must go, should love himself more and sit down and ask himself, if there was a time a king was naked and no one spoke, but a young boy stood and said, uko uchi, how come leo sio mtoto pekee anasema niko uchi, ni Kenya nzima na mimi mwenyewe naona siwezi. Toka hapo. You see hapa hivi kwa Daily Nation wameweka 17 counties mahali wanasema ndo demos zili happen. It's a form of voter apathy too, so that you can tell the rest of the counties that hii region ndo hainitaki. Makosa si mimi, makosa ni hii region. That kind of politics has been there, and the proponents of the 2010 Constitution of Kenya COK had seen it, because previously we had places like Lake Region. Unajua Lake Region imekuwa ikiumia sana juu hakuja kuwaka na president pale since the era of 1963-64 when Jaramogi Oginga Odinga the late decided to step down and allow Jomo Kenyatta to be the Prime Minister of Kenya. The Lake Region felt sidelined, and by the virtue of opposition politics wakakuwaga wako huko. Kazi ni make sure umeingisha mtu wenyu kwa kiti ndio mtu huyo wenyu afikirie kwao pekee. Kama nyinyi mnanipiga awache kwenu. For example, in these 17 counties mahali demos happen sana, especially on Sabasaba, we're going to experience one, less development. Even though hata saizi hakuna development kubwa inaongelelewa, we'll experience less development hapo hivyo, and we'll expect to see more development in the lake region and the coastal region, mahali ambapo kunasemekana ni pro government. They're calling it two term, one term, the narrative and vile iko. Those things bado zote ni voter apathy. Juu mtu ako mahali pako underserved, ndo anaamkaga anasema manze naenda kuvote, hii kura itanisaidia wapi? Kama nikivote bado mwenye nitavotia kura itakuwa imepotea, hakuna haja. But you see, that's the mistake that the politicians capitalize on. Their goal is not for us to go and vote. They are very happy and comfortable when the youth of this country don't go to vote, because they will clinch power through a forced majority from the minority, but those who are not enlightened. Now, according to the Constitution of Kenya, everyone deserves to be represented in every house. Hata kama ni watu mad wakaungana vizuri, wanafaa wachague mtu mmoja wao aingie bunge. Bunge always itakuwa na watu wajinga. Juu watu wajinga lazima waungane waweke mmoja pale. Bunge lazima always itakuwa na mtu wetu. Kuna kichele tuweke huyu. But haitusaidii sisi kama vijana. We need to rethink. Yes, civic education inafanya kazi kubwa sana. Because right now on TikTok, the Gen Z bodies, they're not just twerking. They are giving us civic education in a language we can understand. Si kama hapa hivi ndio inafanyaga sisi tuone. Basi hapo ndio tunasema hii katiba inasema. That works. And the Facebook language, ndio tuingie pale ndani bila uoga. Ukifika kwa community na unajuaga shida ni huyu. Juu shida haiko pale juu. They must go, Ruto must go term does not mean president pekee ndio akona shida. That's why president anakaaga chini anasema ni kama shida ni Rigathi Gachagua, anamtoa anatupa. Anasema ni kama shida ni huyu attorney general, he's not giving me good advice. Justin Bidan Muturi anaenda kunaenda aje hapa hivi, DIG wanafanya makosa, wacha wa step aside kidogo badala waende. Unaona? But sisi kama nchi, you remember me saying that Kenya is a community. People of different thinking wakutane pamoja. Na je tukaungana tuseme haya basi.
I want to move this country forward. You mentioned TikTok buddies and I thought of my sister yesterday.
You thought of your sister na nimekuona pia wewe uko TikTok.
Yesterday we had gunshots around our neighborhood. They were looting Maguna supermarket, which is just a stone throw from where I stay. So there was a lot of chaos around. And she was saying that, you know what, this time nachukua kura. And I'm like, this is something unheard of. Yeah. She's someone who is never into political affairs and everything. But now that you mention, I thought of, okay, this might be true and it's happening. Now, if you look at, still talking about the young people, economists say that the country, the Nairobi might have lost around 10.4 billion just from yesterday. That is something that is affecting our economy. Most of MSMEs were destroyed, looted. Supermarkets were also looted. Others like Magunas, I think in Kirinyaga or Muranga, was also burnt. Yesterday we had supermarkets in Juja looted, and all these things are happening when people are recording and no one is caring. We had others in Kawa West looted also. And yes, and Nikama Magunas has been a target in this protest. Because those are three Magunas. And still talking about the young people and the economy, the Star on business news and mental health today, they're saying young Kenyans depressed as tough economy breaks homes. And this is a study conducted by Shamiri Institute and the Brian and the Mind Institute, BMI, at Aga Khan University. And the study shows that adolescents with only one surviving parent had 18% higher adversity scores. This is just a study showing how depressed or how emotionally unstable the young people are. It might be from broken homes. It might be from lack, let me not say poverty. in their respective homes. It might be from, did I mention broken homes? Yes, it might be from frustrated parents due to lack. And it might be also from the fact that they have maybe completed their studies and they're not having jobs, and that is probably forcing them to the streets. So it is something that the protest, if we look at it, it's not just about the looted, the looted properties or the destroyed properties. Let's take a look at it from a mental health perspective. Now, these young people, last time on the 25th of June, when there was protest in demand of, in remembrance, was it in remembrance of last June's protest?
Yeah.
There's also the one for demanding accountability for Juang. There's a lady, yes, there's a lady who is a neighbor. Alisema, we're asking, mbona unaenda maandamano and you have 2 kids? And she's like, I'm tired. In fact, I'm going on the forefront. I want to be shot. You see, it is not just about going to the street to demand accountability. There is an underlying factor that leads to this. Our mental health as the young people is not on a good place. And it is various frustrations, lack of jobs, lack of, opportunities. You're seeing a situation like the Stars given prominence on Biashara MCA's county chiefs splash millions in Dubai. That is on page 4. And the control of budgets has mentioned counties spending, like Machakos County, spending 488.21 million, almost $500 million on foreign trips to Dubai, and Dubai is the famous destination. We've heard counties like Lamu spending around 60.6 million on Dubai trips. We've had counties like Marsabit spending around, this is around 137 million on trips to Dubai. So you're seeing, you're struggling to pay, to just pay your rent of 3,000 kwa hiyo ka single room kako, which you're living with your parents also. You're struggling to get to mjengo, because kwizi hata mjengo iko na favorism. You don't just get it. You have to, unafaa ujue foreman.
Foreman is trending on everywhere.
Yeah, you are going to, these odd jobs, and you're struggling to pay taxes and all that. But still you're seeing there is imprudent spending on what you're paying. There is payment of goons to distract what you're crying for justice. So it's just a confused situation. I don't know how you look at it. Could there be an underlying factor that is fueling this protest other than the push for accountability and justice?
You see, in terms of investments, biashara hizo vitu zote, the whole world considers Nairobi alone as the Silicon Valley of Africa, not Kenya. And during the Sabasaba protests, that capital, the CBD, was not working. That's what we call peaceful protest. Peaceful protest is disruption of status quo. Bado maandamano yalihappen. Hizi zingine zenye zilihappen huku nje, with the investigations vile zinaendelea, na huyu kushikwa na huyu kushikwa na huyu kushikwa, you will come to note that it is the government now acting huko nje. Polisi waingie kwa estates, wawaweke uoga zaidi. Now imagine, weka all 2 ladies kando. What do you think their parents wanafikiria? Yesterday nilikuwa nafanya kazi na one of the youths from Kamai, na after every 5 minutes akiona makarao huko nje KM, anatoka na niuliza, woyo Juang mtoto wangu. Hadi namwambia, sometimes we have to let God take charge, because we are here with you. Your child is out there in a world yenye polisi wanaweza ua baby Pendo wa case yenye ijawaisha from 2017 up to now, na watoto wako worried. Sasa watoto hao naongelea ni watoto wadogo, and they are in chaos. Is bad business in itself. Tafanya hivyo ndo sisi tuingiza uoga. But you see the generation that the current regime inataka kuweka uoga ni product ya watoto wa Mau Mau before 1963. when kulikuwa kumejaa giza, only a handful wacha kuenda shule, but they still thrived against mzungu na tukapata independence. From there tuende ingine yenye iliwahi kuwa kubwa tena zaidi. July 7th 1990, 3 years before I was born, they went on the streets, including Raila Odinga, the head who is today ensuring that watu waandamani on Sabasaba, was among the people wenye walikuwa wanapigania Sabasaba for multi-party democracy. We are still the children of that generation now yenye imesomeshwa na Mwai Kibaki up to this level. You see, it was between 1990 or before 1963. The handful of watu wametoka ghetto kama sisi wenye wamesoma walikuwa wadogo sana. But saizi watu wamesoma, we as youth can only be resilient. As youth tuko na shida mingi sana hizo zenye zinaleta stress. Watu wamesoma, hakuna kazi. Na mzazi aliinvest kila kitu chake ndo akupeleke kampo, umalize uanze kumsaidia. Uko hapo hivyo maisha imekuwa ngumu, and huyo mzazi anakosa kuunderstand. Wewe badala ujitume, mbona unaniambia unaenda maandamano? Mzazi maisha yake ni ngumu, but yeye and all those siblings wameka wewe mbele. It is worse for you if you are a firstborn coming from that world. All those stress does not mean we have to give up. Because you give up, you die. You lose the whole purpose of why you were brought into this world in the first place. Au kuletwa hii world uishi kuandamana. There is a life. So if you unaandamana ni due the weight of whatever is happening in the country is too heavy for you to carry. Shed the light as a youth. Ndo wengine waone hiyo light na tufanye mema. And then tukae chini to relax. Kila mtu ana take time. Take time. Jioni ukishapata time, relax. Reflect on yourself only, not the world. Ndio kesho tukiamka tupewe 500 tuende tukalut vitu za wenyewe. You start imagining about the sweat hiyo watu wamepitia ndo wapate hapo hivyo. If you have to loot, and if you're asking me, if you have to loot, you're supposed to loot those places that are barricaded. The State House and the Parliament. Sio biashara za wenzako.
All right, this is the standard. It's giving us the cost of Nairobi's one-day shutdown, saying 10.4 billion estimated economic loss for one day, 3.8 trillion Nairobi city's gross county product annually, and top economic contributors annually, financial and insurance activities, that is at 885.6 billion, real estate 628.4 billion, transport and storage at 581.2 billion. Kenya, Nairobi's share of national is 27.5%. That is Kenya's GDP at 16.2 trillion. We have Nairobi's share of key sectors. We have manufacturing, 36.9%, restaurants and other secondary, 33%, service sector, 37%. Nairobi population, as of 2024, is at 4.7 million. Working population is at 2.2 million. So we have a population of 2.5 million that are not working in Nairobi. And just a single day of not working, it costs Nairobi 10.4 billion shillings. And that is one day contribution. That is one day. We have a budget of 4.2 trillion. That means that all these earnings are incorporated in that. So if you're having a loss of 10 billion in a single day, in the month of June only, we had around 4 protests. And what was affected was the service sector and the restaurants and joints, which contribute 70.4% of Nairobi's collections. So that means that every time there is protest, every time there is closure of shops, every time there is closure of joints, we are losing 10 billion. So if it's 4 days in a month, that is around 45 or 10.4 by 4, that is around 41.6.
Yeah.
41.6 billion roughly in a month. So if we are tunaandamana like every quarter of the year tunaandamana, that is 40 by 3. inasonga. And this is something that is supposed to be contributing to our GDP, which is actually less because our GDP is at 3 trillion. That means if you continue with this trend, we'll be having more deficits in our budget. And as we know, our members of parliament don't know how to manage funds, because the control of budgets on the Star says Parliament is being systematically ignored by institutions it oversees, and the executive. A report by the Auditor General shows it is emerging that government agencies continue to disregard audit recommendations with near impunity. Despite clear legal mandates and repeated directives, the entities are feared to be creating a culture of financial mismanagement that cost billions. Only 21% of parliamentary audit recommendations have been fully implemented. That's according to the Auditor General. So we are having this deficit that's in a pile day by day, and our government does not know how to live within its means. So it means if the budget was at 4.2 trillion, there'll be a supplementary budget which will probably go to at 4.5 trillion. So we will just have more spendings. That means we'll be leading to more borrowing because the government has to work, has to move on. So do you think these protests are really beneficial to our country if we look at it to this perspective of the more we protest, the more we lead our country into more debts?
Protests are not supposed to benefit people that way. That's why people may view them as not beneficial. Protests are supposed to disrupt negative change. For example, watu tuseme kama kwa kazi, kwa nini ya environment ya kazi, watu wataprotest juu kazi haifanyiki. Mnasema kama hii nini haifanyi, situachane tu nayo. The cost of that is, or an easier solution is, listen. Because protests are made or are done so that people can get what we are calling attention. Attention. They are seeking attention. Can you listen to us? So you listen to them, they won't go to protests. We do something right, they won't go to protests. We cannot bado keep going to protests always, because the country is bigger than one person. That's why they keep saying that no one is above the law. The country is bigger than our constitution. I will say it here and I will say it again. The constitution of Kenya is bigger than the Bible. Nasema hivyo juu, the biggest percentage of Kenyans, we are Christians, and we feel entitled as if Kenya is a Christian state religion. We are a no-state religion. That's why it pains a lot of Kenyans when 1.2 billion is spent in State House to build a church. Si hata watumia 500 million kujenga church, 500 million kujenga mosque, 500 million kujenga nini ya Wahindi, 500 million kujenga ya Waras. All these people to be represented in State House, because tomorrow the president could be a Rastafarian. The other day the president could be an Islam. Unaona, tutakuwa tukispend hivyo 1.2 billion kila time. Wewe ukiamka ujisikie na Mungu wangu leo anataka niunde church. Hata time ya David hakukuwa hivyo. These are just theatric lines and acts. So the deep state of this country itafika mahali watachoka pia. Mtu kama huyu mwenye hizi maguna zote, siko magunas ni mingi ziko kwa hizi counties ziko aligned hapa. Kuna Maguna, Nyeri, Murang'a, and those Mount Kenya nini. We talked about voter apathy. This is one way of telling us something. Mbona kwa hizo supermarket zote Magunas ndio zimeguzwa? Ile time nyingine zote Quickmart ndio inaguzwa. They are strategic because ni watu wamejipanga, sio maandamano. Maandamano hata yenye haijajipanga. I participated in high school, Kerugoya Boys High School. Walikuwa wanatupa window kila mahali, si kwa super moja. Kama ni siku leo watu wamesema wanaandamana, ni zote zinaharibiwa. If you see them being selected, watu wanajipanga. I've had cases mahali wanatoka hapo hivyo wanaenda wanaandika insurance, wanalipwa. It's fraud everywhere. So the deep state watachoka, wazee wenye wako na hizo biashara watachoka. It's only President Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, Wetangula and Baba who are in government. Watu wangapi wenye ni vigogo hii nchi hawako kwa presidency? Mark you, we have only one reigning former president. His wisdom counts. Wanataka kuniambia hata yeye mwenye anaambiaga mtoto wake ngena aende huko akaandamane. Unajua huko ndo mademo walitoa hiyo power zaidi ya kuandamanaga. Siku hizi maandamano hata ni tamu sana, peaceful protest. Tuko huko na warembo. Kwa nini Juadi Ngena Kenyatta aliambiwa na baba yake tokea? Mtu kama huyu anaambia nini tokea, na yeye ni one of the greatest investors in this country. Hawezi kubali biashara za wenyewe ziende hivyo. So tutaandamana leo na kesho kutwa. Things zitakuwa in line. By the time tunafika 2027, kitakuwa kinaeleweka hii nchi. Saizi hata vitu zimeanza kuchange kabisa. Ruto started with 2022. Hawa wakora nikiingia wataenda. Akaingia akashika Biblia akasema nikiweka hii Biblia chini mtaona. Tukaendelea. Juzi nilimsikia akisema mnataka niende guys. Mtaenda aje? Nitaenda vipi? The conversation has reached there. All revolutions lazima zikuwe na kitu kama hiyo. So if he's not going kwa hii half term, then 2027 hata aibe aje will make a statement. At the moment no one cares about who will be the next president. All they care about is that next president will not be a butcher, will not be a disrespect of the constitution, will be someone. Sisi tunataka tu mtu follow law. Hata tukiweka maraga hapo hivyo, make sure tu katiba inafuatwa. So tutajisaidia. Kenyans don't need to be helped, especially by politicians.
Now that we are talking about 2027, the Daily Nation says big divide.
Haki ya Mungu.
In the past, maandamano ilikuwa ya Wajaluo. Let me.
Maandamano ijawahi kuwa ya Wajaluo.
No.
Hiyo ni profile yenye imeishi kufanyika. Lazima tukubaliane Sylvia. Maandamano ijawahi kuwa ya Wajaluo.
Saying,
you know I'm Ojwang but I'm not a Luo.
I know.
And
but
listen. I have never even hakuna mtu ambaye kuja hata anaonaga more Luo than Kikuyu. Hakuna time maandamano imewahi kuwa ya Waluo. Ni vile hao Waluo ndo walikuwa wanalipwa zaidi watokee.
Look at it this way. In the past, when we've had previous demonstrations, we've had destructions, massive destructions in like Kondele. Kondele is famously known for protest. In Kondele, that is in Kisumu. We've had Eastlands. And places like Muranga, Sijui, Kiambu. Rarely would you see protest. But this time, there's a shift. Kisumu is very peaceful.
Because of mtu wetu narrative. If you feel aggrieved, you will protest. If you don't feel aggrieved, you will not protest.
Now, let's look at it this way. You've said that people will be going to vote as long as they don't want a butcher or something like that.
Yes.
I don't want to say you are referring to anyone.
No, don't say I'm not referred to anyone.
I don't want to say you're referring to anyone. But let's look at it this way. Looking at politics, sometimes the inferior win, not because they win because maybe hakukuwa na another option ama hakukuwa na competitor. This is a situation where we are seeing other counties. We had 30 counties that didn't participate in demos. Can we say that all these 30 counties wako na mtu wetu?
Hawana mtu wetu.
Then is it wrong to say?
Sikiza maandamano yalifanyika wapi? I will repeat this again. Maandamano yalifanyika jana in the CBD. The CBD was supposed to be shut for peaceful protests. Peace hadi kumenyamazwa. Na tukasema what happened kwa hayo maandamano yenye yalifanyika in Nairobi CBD? 10.4 billion was lost. Umeshika? Hayo ndo maandamano. Maandamano yalifanyika Kisumu, by the way. Very peaceful protests. Huko kwingine kwenye maandamano hayakufanyika. Let us not say hayo ni maandamano or protests. We start teaching Kenyans what protests are and what violence is. That way we'll be able to know when violence is sponsored and when demonstrations are happening. Wewe umesema mlikuwa mahali wasichana wawili, si ndio? When mnaandamana inakuwaga ni town na kwa barabara. Kama hapo hivyo kumetokea vita, it is just people wako hapo hivyo wanataka ku disrupt change, but it doesn't mean they are peaceful protesters. If this ever happened in the Lake region, it doesn't mean that hivyo ndivyo maandamano yalifaa kufanyika in the Lake region. Hata ni better tuseme that hao watu wenye wako kwa Lake region wameshaelewa vizuri maandamano yote yanafaa kuwa peaceful. Ndo maana hata tuliweza kufanya finance bill iende, maandamano ikiwa peaceful. When maandamano is not peaceful, hakuna kitu kuja. Ask baba, ameishi hiyo barabara, na hata hiyo yenye alipata kuingia nini kwa broad based, si yeye aliandamana, ni peaceful protest ya hao wengine. Yake ilikuwa hiyo ya kuharibu mali ya 2023. People stopped doing that. Hao wengine wenye unaona hivi, hata tuseme wanalipwa, nani wanawalipa? Ni mwenye uongoza maandamano. Anaambia aje baba, anaambia aje Ruto, I know how I can help you to stop these protests. Let's be honest with each other.
Should we then, as a country, embrace working with the government to avoid such losses? Like in Nairobi peke yake, we have a loss of 10 billion. So in a single day. So should we then embrace a situation where we are working with the government to avoid such protests? Because clearly, no change.
Yes, we should. Hivyo ndivyo katiba inatuambia. Following the constitution says everyone should work with the government. Inafaa ikuaje? Let's say it's 2022. We've elected someone to be the president. We are supposed now to work with that person. Whether tulimchagua ama hatukumchagua. Whether uko hii region ama uko hii region. You are supposed to work together. 5 years zikiisha, aondoke. Sawa? But let's look at it this way. Umeingia for the very first 5 years. Things ziko venye ziko saizi. What are you supposed to do? The problem is not the government. The problem is whoever is in government. Because government is a representation of people. The president, the problem is us. The problem is the president, not the government. That's why unasikia kuna letu hadi watu wanaitwa experts. Mbadi, Ali Hassan Joho, Mutahi Kagwe, kuna expert mwingine wa IT anaitwa Kabogo. Because it's a government, not one person. So we one person akaweza kuondoka, the government would change. People, si ati watu wataki kuwork na government, ni hawataki kuwork na huyo mtu. Government ni kubwa sana. That's why kuna vitu hadi zinaitagwa PPP, Public Private Partnerships. So that sisi kama government, tunafanya 70%, nyinyi kama private, mnafanya 30%. Iyo PPP, inamaanisha ni watu wanafanya kazi na government. The problem comes when we are personalizing. Who is this in this government that we are working with?
But then, Ojwang, if we look at it objectively, we've seen a situation where when someone is in government, they tend to, agree with everything that is going on in the government. Why not bring the changes while in government instead of waiting for a time when you're out of government? That is when you are seeing everything wrong with the government, and now your agenda is not on solving problems, but rather getting the person out of office. Like, for example, I'm saying maybe my member of parliament is not doing a good job. Instead of focusing on, you're not doing a good job on this and this and this, you should do this and this and this. What I'm focused on is, you're not a good person, you should get out of office. Like, no solutions being offered, but insults.
There is something that we call goodwill. Goodwill. That plainly too kwa roho safi you want to do things. The government is not using its money. The government uses money from all these people we are calling poor, imagine. The taxpayers' money. They are just ni mtu ameajiriwa na sisi tumemwajiri. Sylvia, you are my friend. Nikikuajiri leo ukose kufanya kazi, I will fire you. Kama contract yako haijaisha, I will fire and compensate. That's why Kenyans wanasema, would must go, please go. Then set a pay bill ama anze na pay bill. We can do that. Anze na pay bill. Tuchange, juu tuko na pesa. Tuchange hadi zijae, aende. We employ another person. Meshika. Ikishindikana then, mtu anaweza fanya kivyake. You see, mimi ni mtu niliishi kupiga mbunge wa kwetu sana juu ya kukosa kufanya vitu. And when I realized that he's still not doing, I started doing kidogo kidogo. Because we have power as youths. We have knowledge, and if information is power, we are able to create positive change. na tusaidie watu wengi sana. Shida yetu ni kutegemeana. For example, Wakenya wameishi kutegemea baba Raila Odinga sana. Na hawawezi fanya bila baba. Baba saizi ndio watu wanaenda ya. Uzuri ni watu wenye walikuwa baba wanazeeka. So baba amekuwa kama mihadarati yenye iko ndani ya Wakenya, ndo watu sasa wako rehab. Inaisha polepole na yeye anaenda akiondoka. Now we are having new conversations, and in these conversations people are starting to learn from them. From the Luo region, tuko na kina Babu Owino, tuko na kina Kasmuel Makoure. Haya, kati yao wawili nani traitor, nani anaka future inakaaje? Watu wana learn. It's a resilient generation of youths who are not willing to give up.
All right. Now, the Baba you're talking about is calling for intergenerational dialogue over burning issues. Do you think this is going to work?
Intergenerational dialogue yenye baba anaitisha. Aliitisha wakati baba yake alihitaji kutafuta kiti cha urais. But he disrespected the dad. That was before 1992. And the dad told him ni sawa tu. The dad later died in 1994. Baba did not dialogue there. From there, he dialogued with Moi, got in here akasaidika, wale wengine wakakosa kusaidika. Hizi dialogues kuna kwingine zimewaka. You see, in 202, Baba joined hands with Kibaki. They said Kibaki tosha. And he was recorded as the best ever CS for roads. Hadi akapigwa ile stamp ya engineer. To that point, by the way, mimi uheshimu Baba sana Raila Odinga. He showed that there is something like a super CS. You know, with Matiang'i factor, yake aliharibu juu 2017 kuna mili ilipatikana Yala. Baba bado ana stand as the best CS Kenya imewahi have. But in all those things alikuwa anatafuta dialogue. Ametoka hapo hivyo, wameingia tena 207 kwa Grand Coalition with the current President Ruto, bado akiwa chini yake under ODM. That time, we called even the late Kofi Annan. What do we get? Tunaweza vileta vitu zingine. The Constitution of Kenya, tuliipata 2010. It was Baba and the dialogue. From there, 2018, what did we get? 2022, what have we gotten? So far, hata saa hizi bado kunaendelea hivi. The handshake had 10 key points ama agendas. Na moja ilikuwa deal with the cases of abductions once and for all. The president has not done that, even if ilikuwa bado kwa manifesto yake ya 2022. So hapo hivyo hakuna kitu mpya Baba alikuwa ameleta kwa hiyo broad based. Kitu cha pili, compensate all these cases. Hiyo haijawahi fanyika up to date. Yet bado kuna pesa za hizo mabilioni za kwenda huko nje. Haya, ingine yenye ilisemekana, development imeanza kupatikana. And for that to that level iko fiti, but iko side moja ya the Lake region. It's a good thing. But have you noted that Siaya wamepewa kitu wengine wamekataa? So in the coast, mahali ya bado hata huko wako pro government, walikataa kujengwe nuclear facility. Si ilikubaliwa huko. 10 years from now, we will revisit this conversation online, either on KUTV YouTube with over 75 subscribers, or those social platforms yenye hii itakuwa. We will see the effect of that nuclear energy plant that is being planted at Siaya. Up to now, bado tunaongea. Saizi hadi tunaibadilisha, tunaita intergenerational dialogue. Next tutaita aje?
All right. Someone may argue, or I saw people argue, that Baba is once again trying to get relevance because he realized that this generation, previously it was believed that maandamano could happen if Baba okays it. But right now, maandamano has happened without him saying a word, and he's trying to get back to his feet in terms of, managing protest. Do you share the same sentiments even as we conclude?
I don't share the same sentiments because I've seen Baba at his worst, and I've seen Baba at his best. I've seen Baba staying calm to a point people think that he will die. You see, after 2022 elections, he was so tired. People thought Baba will not make it. But Baba is someone who can reinvent himself if he realizes his purpose. And his purpose has always been on the people's side. Some would call it a blessing in disguise. Baba is so powerful when he's in opposition. Right now, he's even trying to do things ati kutafuta relevance na ako kwa gava. That he should feel sorry for himself because he's nearing the end of the legacy he has been writing since when he was born. You know, Baba is one person who has been baptized so many times. Baba is one person who has been gone to Islamic world so many times. He's a man. Sometimes I look and say, that kind of resilience, I'd like to have it. But what happens when you forget your purpose? You start feeling guilt. Saizi ni guilt inamkula. Ndio maana anasema, tukweni tu na intergenerational nini, hahitaji intergenerational. Asimame akuwe baba, atusaidie sote.
All
And
right.
because he cannot do that as a president, he should do that as a statesman.
All right. What happened to Kenya nini? Mnafaa kujitegemea, mnafaa.
Yes, asijasema ni kusaidia tunasaidia baba. Umeleta question ya that baba is trying to seek relevance, which is true. But baba alipoteza wapi hii relevance, anaanza kutumia all this kuchoka kuipata tena.
All right, that brings us to the end of our discussion this morning. I have 1 minute for you to give us your last remarks.
Nasema asante sana for the kind of work we are doing, especially doing civic education. I saw our fellow youths commenting and giving opinions on how we are running the newspaper review and the kind of civic education we are doing on the university platform. And it motivated me to do more, to read more, so that we can give facts always. Mi ukuwa mtu mtrue sana, but kama kuna kitu sitaifanya, utaisikia nimetusi mtu, utaisikia nimesema kitu chenye kikienda kotini nitashindwa kujitetea. By 2032 I'm supposed to be on the bar too. So tunafanya vile inafaa, tunachambua magazeti, tunaongea ukweli. Kama gazeti imeandikwa brute force, once again the government unleashed, hiyo ndo tutaambia Wakenya vile iko. We will report. We are members of the fourth estate because some of us could be short-sighted at one vizuri, but the country still expects us to give vision and show them the light.
All right.
So asante sana.
Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. To our viewers back at home, thank you so much for joining us for the past 2 hours or so. This has been Newspaper Review with Ojuang Mariam. Thank you so much for making time for us once again. Until next time, it's a wrap from us. Bye-bye.
Ni masaa, ni mda, ni wakati wa kuongea. Tumekataa bila raha, tumeshindwa kujizuia.